I feel like once the pandemic hit, we were almost sort of simultaneously battling two pandemics, right? One that's always been here with the issue of race, and then the other with the virus.
Nobody knew where it was coming from or how it was going to transpire. And people haven't seen family in some cases in over a year now. So I think that that can be incredibly traumatic and and detrimental to our mental health.
Plagues cause grief. They're a time of loss. They take our lives, they take our livelihoods, and they take our way of life. And people have to cope with these things. They have to cope with deaths in their friends and relatives. They have to cope with the economic collapse. They have to cope with the social constraints and the missed opportunities for schooling or partnering or occupational opportunities. Plagues end, and life does eventually return to normal, but that doesn't mean that there are no scars, either on an individual level or on a societal level.
Traumatic experiences are those that um, challenge our core beliefs. And by core beliefs, we mean the things that we usually take for granted, things like how predictable we think things are, how much we're in control of things, whether we live in a good place or a bad place, what kind of future we have ahead of us, what kind of people we are.
There's still going to be a lot of things that people are not going to be able to recover from. It's a worry for me. It's a worry for me. It's a worry for some of the people that I know in our communities that I come from. And it's really disheartening.
I think some people will bear marks of this, just like, people who served in wars, they return to normal life, but, some of them have kinds of PTSD. The ancient Greeks said pathe mathos, through suffering comes learning or comes knowledge. And I think there is some truth in that.
So in the aftermath of trauma, when we are dealing with the core beliefs that we have that have been challenged, we struggle to reconstruct our system of belief. And in that struggle, there are some good things that can come of it.
I am a survivor of domestic violence two times over. And, really over the years, one of the big things that I relied on was my faith. Also, re entering society slowly but surely, I began to reach out to friends. I began to reach out to family because I was so isolated during the relationship. And that in turn, made me want to believe I was enough. I was somebody before this thing happened to me.
For me, the huge hurdle was always continued struggle. And I think that's important because there's no way to phase out struggle from our life. It's just not possible.
One of the most important things that we can do is try to keep ourselves open to the experiences we're having rather than avoid things. Another is trying to express and articulate what it is we're going through in this struggle, hopefully through contact with other people in one way or another.
I'm a huge advocate for just talking, right? That can be so much of a load off because again, we're keeping so many things bottled up.
I don't fancy myself an expert by any means, and that's why I say if it worked for me, it's got to work for somebody else. And paying that forward has been my new purpose, and it feels good to have a purpose again, especially after service and injury and that road back.
The goal of service is important, so that people can find that what they've gone through is not in vain and can be used for a good purpose, not just for themselves, but for other people.
For me personally, it meant that this work was also served as a cathartic therapy process. Every single time I connected with a survivor, every single time someone said, "Me too," every single time I was able to share my story, just unloading that stuff that I'd been walking around with for so very long really helped.
Sometimes it seems insurmountable. And I remember being asked the question once before how do you eat an elephant? And said one bite at a time. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. So the idea of just starting where you're at, if that means you're struggling because you've been locked in your house and now things are maybe clearing up, if that means getting up and just going for a walk to start with, if that means starting to communicate with a trusted 3 to 5 people in your life, I don't know, a close group of people.
If you are with people who are experiencing trauma of any kind, no matter what the event is that set things off, the process of growth is still possible. And I encourage people to try to support those who are moving through the aftermath of whatever traumatic events they have. It might be this pandemic, something related to that, a job loss, family problems, health problems, whatever it might be. Find ways to be understanding, a good listener, patient, and 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 tolerate the hard times of it with them. So that expert companionship can be so helpful.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from USA Today to stay up to date with all the latest news.